Does it say, I'm successful because I have arrived, I have so many businesses or positions or this much money and I feel successful? Or what about security and comfort? Does it give you a lot of security? You're feeling, I feel so secure, I feel so comfortable with all this wealth. Does it make you feel really happy? Is the happiness, that money, what it means to you when you have it, when you're in control of it? Or does it mean like having more freedom, so it gives you more choices? I think there's a truth to that. Is it your worth indicator? Do you tie how you see yourself to money? Like, I am how much money I have. I am my positions. You know, if you tie your self-worth to it, right? Does money define you? So maybe it did before, right? So we all know before Jesus. Hopefully, you know, we're all filled with the love of God and we know who we are in Him, and we've separated the money thing from our self-worth. Or maybe we're still working through it, but, you know, what is your personal relationship with money? How do you feel about it when you think about it? Or what about at times when you're very stressed about it? And say you run into problems, financial problems, and say, you know, there's always problems that come up. And how does it turn you into someone you feel very low, you feel very angry, you start blaming people. Yeah, but you know, I've come to the place, for me personally, I see money as a resource. It's simply a resource. Because why? I'm a steward, right? So God's given me resources to steward. And so if I have the mindset of stewardship, you know, Luke 16 talks about stewardship, being faithful with money, being faithful with the little, being faithful with someone else's. Yeah, and it's all His. I'm just managing it all the resources. I don't own it. And it's something that is a revelation that I've worked through in my life. And so that's my attitude towards it. So I personally don't feel like if somebody was giving me $10 million, I might go, happy for 10 minutes. Oh, what can I do with it? You know, but then I still feel the same. You know, I would. I'd be like... No, I mean, I'd still feel the same. I'd be like, oh, what can I do with this resource? Yeah, Lord, what do you want me to do with this resource? You know, I already have it in my mind that if anything happens and the resource keeps increasing, yeah, I just feel the same. I don't feel like I'm going to turn to someone else or I'm going to, you know, I'm going to change my attitude. Yeah, so what does money mean to you? That's something you've got to work out. And sometimes we grow up with a lot of our family culture, right? We talked about mottos last week. You know, what kind of things were instilled in you as a child? Because that shapes your attitude towards money, right? So if your parents were, say for instance my mum was very careful with money, and she always said, never buy anything when you don't have cash for it. And so I was like, okay, I will never buy anything. I'll never get into debt. I will hate debt. I will only buy things when I saved up for it. So I became really good at saving. But I was debt adverse, you know, like debt, don't go there. That's scary. And even getting a mortgage back then was really scary, you know. But I think I missed out on a lot of opportunities as well because of the mindset that I had developed that kind of kept me, you know, scared a bit. So you have to examine, you know, all the worlds, the family mottos, the family culture growing up, and you have to analyze them all and think, is it working here for me? What kind of problems is it causing me right now? Am I in heaps in debt? Am I just not taking any risks at all? Am I really apathetic with money even? Am I in denial with money? You know, so you've got to examine your mind and renew your mind about these things, because if you continue to keep these fat habits that were deep in your family that you have now, it's going to be a lot of problem, you know, and it causes a lot of problem in marriage relationships. I mean, one of the biggest tensions around in marriages and in, you know, close relationships, it's all about money. Couples fight about money. Yeah. Okay, so money is a resource to be stewarded wisely for God. And no one can serve two masters, it says in Luke 16. You know, either you serve God or you serve mammon. You can't have two masters. Yeah, so stewarding money for me gives me a sense of satisfaction that, yeah, I don't have to be so stressed. I don't have to be so concerned because it is God's. I'm just managing all this for Him, and money moves in and money moves out. But I have to manage it well. I want to be a steward that's faithful and follow God's ways. And where your treasure is, there your heart will be. So if you put your heart into money because you tie it to your self-worth, well, that's what you're going to prioritize, right? So that's why people prioritize their career or getting wealthy, say, or trying to do really, really well in life. So because they've tied it to their self-worth, because money means to them power or status or some kind of satisfaction or comfort. Yeah, so that's something you really have to wrestle and really get a revelation on and understanding on. You know, you've got to really work that in with the truth and with God. Okay, so number 2, identify and don't deny and don't sweep it under the carpet toxic religious beliefs about money. Like there's a lot of common Christian things that we've been taught in churches, right, that we hear from other Christians. We go, oh, okay, and we never question it. We're like, yeah, oh, right, is that true? Yeah, it must be true. Because the pastor said it or our church practices it. And so one of the ones is money is evil. You know, wealth and possessions, they're worldly. Don't have a lot of money. Don't have a lot of possessions because that's really worldly. No, what does 1 Timothy 6:10 say? It says, the love of money. It's not having lots of money, it's the love of money. Your heart attitude towards money, that you love it, that it is your God, that is something you worship and trust in, that is what is evil, right? The root, the love of money is the root of all evil, right? So it's okay as a Christian because, you know, if you're healthy on the inside, well, anyway, I would say that your financial position reflects your inner life, right? Your inner emotional life. It does. And here's another one. God provides. He provides. So what does that mean? You don't have to work hard then, right? Are you avoiding work and financial responsibility if you just say God provides and then you do nothing? You just say, I'll just pray and I believe God will provide. And if you see Christians who will just sit there and just pray, yeah, that's not right, right? God does provide, but you have to you have to do the work. You as you do the work, as you knock on doors, as you save, you get more added to you. It's because you're exercising those principles. Yeah, and that is why He provides. He provides based on all the righteous ways and actions. Yeah, He opens more doors for you that way. Yeah. So God does His part, but we have to do our part. So we can't say God will do everything and I do nothing. That's not right. That's just avoiding responsibility for whatever reason. Could be a lot of unbearable feelings. And here's another one that I used to hear a lot in our first church. That was many, many years ago. God blesses me because I tithe. God blesses me because I'm serving in ministry. Well, I used to believe that and neglect other areas of my life, right? I just think, because I tithe, I'm tithing 10%, and I also give above that. Or I'm serving God so much in church. Surely God's blessing me in other areas of my life. He'll look after my kids and, you know, He'll look after a relationship. And I didn't even have to think about my inner life because, yeah, God blesses me because I'm doing this. That's so far from the truth. You need to be a holistic Christian, right? We have to take it into the fact that we've got to grow spiritually, emotionally, and relationally, and financially, and not just think, just because I do the spiritual thing, that God will make up for me in every other area of my life. That's not true, right? What about poor equals good and holy, rich equals bad and sinful? Yeah. Right, to be poor is so spiritual, right? It's holy to be poor. It's like Christ. But if I'm rich, that's bad and that's sinful. It's so worldly. Yeah. Got to work that one out. What about the richer you are, the more blessed you are? So So you look at someone who's very successful and you think, oh, this was taught in my former church as well. The blessing of God is on your life, and that's why you get more richer and more wealthier, because you must be so blessed. God's blessing is on you. That's why you're so rich and why you have so many possessions. That's not true, is it? That's the prosperity gospel right there. And what about this one? I'm living by faith. So if that's your conviction, so a true conviction, right? So if you truly believe that you're to live by faith, then you work hard in ministry, but also you must have a structure and a system for raising funds then, right? Because if you just believe that I'm living by faith, I believe that God will provide, and I've seen people thinking God will provide, and their children are starving. That's not right. I'm depending. Are you relying purely on a miracle? Are you relying purely on prayer and faith? No. Well, I mean, if you do have that faith, and you do believe that, you're called to live by faith because you're called into full-time ministry, then show me the structure and the system that you have for raising funds. So I like Student Life because I love their systemized way of support raising, because there's accountability in them, there's a systematic, and they tick everything off. It's actually a very disciplined way of support raising. There's so much, there are goals that you need to set. You need to raise a certain amount. You need to approach X number of people. You work it like a salesperson. You make those phone calls, you make those meetings, you make those texts. And it's just a matter of doing the work. It's very, very systematic, structured and accountable. And you're accountable for it. So that's the way to be supported by faith, right? When you're living by faith, yeah. So let me see the structure behind it, because that's how you live by faith. There's a system there. And sometimes it's poverty disguised as humility. Have you seen that? Like, you're actually in poverty. But then you're just like, I'm just humbling myself before God. I don't have many possessions or riches. Yeah, but actually it's just a poverty mindset that you have. But you're just clothing with humility. So just watch out for those toxic religious beliefs that can run in our families, that you can be taught growing up, and you still practice it as a Christian. Because you never question it, so anything you don't challenge or dig up and look at it and look at it and examine it and go, is that true? Is this good? Is this healthy? Is it growing? Is it life? If you don't look at it, if you just never question it, then you'll stay the same. You'll have the same results. Okay, so number 3, see money management as a mathematical thing and it's not emotional. So I think it's easy to say, but if you have dealt with all your family emotional stuff, okay, you've renewed your mind about that and you've put your self-worth in God and it's not tied to money, then you can actually be free to look at money just mathematically. It's just doing the sums, like setting a budget, how much do I actually have coming in and how much, what are these bills here, what's going out, and what can I save, and what can I give, and what do I have allocated to spend. It's actually a very disciplined approach. So the people that do well financially are actually quite disciplined, and they treat money just like a number. It's just a number. So you got to do a spreadsheet, because if you approach money emotionally, you're going to go all over the place. It's going to be like, I feel like spending on this, so I will. I feel like this impulse buy, so I will. Heaps of credit card debt, owing people this amount, that amount, and it's very chaotic. Remember, the finances reflect on your inner life. So if you have a chaotic inner life, chaotic habits that you never renewed your mind about, your financial situation will just reflect that. Interesting, isn't it? So do you pay your bills on time? That's a very simple thing to do. Or is honouring other people and not owing people? And as Christians, that's part of our witness, isn't it? Sure, I mean, we can, talk to people and share the gospel, but do we live the life? I mean, even financially, let's not skip that part. Do we live the life? And one of those ways is, Christians who never pay their rent on time, who never say, I'll pay this back, and they never do, You take someone's possessions, you never return it. I mean, small things like that. People who are non-Christians notice that, and you just, what kind of how are you representing Jesus that way? Are you representing him? Are you stewarding this representation of him with your finances faithfully? So that's the picture of Jesus too, right, that we show. And are you a person that avoids looking at debt? Like if there's debt, that there's lots of money that you owe people and you feel really bad, you feel really scared, and you're just like, just ignore it. I'll just think about it another time. But actually, the more you ignore it, the bigger the debt grows, because interest grows. It compounds, right? Especially credit card debt. Credit card debt is something that's a terrible, terrible, because I've been in that place before. It's a terrible, terrible place to be in. It just interest upon the interest, and it's like 20%, right? And so it's best to always know your numbers. It's best to get a spreadsheet down if you want to be mathematical about it. See the numbers, see what's coming in, see what's going out, see what's piling up, and then you can see where the problem is, or see what you need to increase. Say, I need to increase my savings here to meet that goal, or I want to increase giving here. Things like that. So always have the numbers before you. Somebody asked us to help them set up a budget, and they had never set one up before. And what we got them to do was make a spreadsheet, and they set up an automatic payment. When the income came in, a certain amount every week would go into a savings account. Now they're able to save, and they're saving so well towards their goal. They're meeting a goal right there, and they feel great about it. They feel really happy. So you see, it's just a mathematical approach. There was no emotions involved at all, none, just numbers. Okay, and here's a really, really big one where you might get into a lot of trouble with people as well as money. So one example is this: parents who rescue kids by giving them money. Don't do that. It's David's words, don't do that. When as a child you get something for nothing, guess what? You create this sense of entitlement, like, oh, mum and dad will give it to me at any time, because they know that's easy. They always do that for me. So you come to expect it. This creates a sense of entitlement, but it's also worse by making them lazy, because they think, oh, I don't have to work for it. It just comes so easily. But easy come, easy go, right? Easy come, easy go. You never appreciate it if you don't work for it. So do not spoil your kids with money and just give them it for nothing. They have to do jobs. They have to earn it. They have to earn it. Maybe it's gifts on birthdays, Christmas, but that's it. Our kids, when they were young, we said, do you want to do a paper run? And they were only making $10 a week, but they did a paper run. Mm-hmm. But it's the principle, like, be responsible, do some work, earn it, save it. They watch the savings grow. They learn how to spend it wisely because they worked hard for it. They'll be like, oh, that means I'll appreciate it because I worked hard for it, right? So never create this getting something for nothing habit. It is a terrible habit to get into. It just zeroes your motivation. You have no motivation to do anything, to go to do the work for it, because you're like, it's just here for nothing. Why would you? Why would you, right? So it just creates apathy, indifference, and then the thing is, when you face difficult situations, you just don't know what to do. You never exercised it. You never exercise like, how do I face this challenge? Oh, I don't know. It just came so easily. I don't know what to do. I never ran into this trouble before, and it used to be all taken care of. So, yeah. So remember, our brains always defaults to the easiest, shortest way out through something. We have little tolerance for pain. So let's unlearn and relearn new habits. And that's hard. That's the hard part. It takes a lot of intentional work. And how about lending money or helping family and friends? And but that's naive trust. If you're just giving them money, say a friend, sure, you want to help friends. We all want to help friends and family, but you don't just give them for nothing. And you just don't, and they haven't earned your trust, and you can't just give it to them just simply because they're a friend or a family member. It's like, have I seen you trustworthy in other little things first? Say you borrowed $10 maybe, but they never returned the $10, and then it's next time can I borrow $100? Never returned $100. You know, there was a Christian lady, I've heard this story, she rented this house to a Christian man. He didn't pay the rent for weeks. And she's like, oh, that's okay, he's a Christian brother.
What?
That's not right, because she has a mortgage to pay. This is naive trust, by the way, and not, you know, sticking to keep the friendship separate. Keep the Christian brotherliness separate. This is a transaction. I'm the landlord, you're the tenant, here's the paperwork. There's no emotion with that, right? That's how you do business well. You've got to separate emotions and friendship. So if you're lending or helping family friends, test them with a little bit, and then you give them a little bit more. But never give them, here's $1,000, here's $100,000. I mean, so this lady, she loaned $30,000 to a brother, and okay. So this, I know we all have stories. It's just naive trust, right? Guess what? We get wise from after being naive. So this lady, she loaned $30,000 to a brother. 30,000.
Like a real brother or
yes,
a brother in
a
Christ?
Christian brother. Again, I'm talking about Christians. We're very naive, okay? We just, because we like to be generous. God is kind, God is generous, but we don't exercise smart trust. So guess what? And he tells her, oh, I'm sorry, sister. I think she gets taken advantage of because she's just too nice. All right, she doesn't like, this is it and no more. She's like, oh, okay. You know, she's just too nice. You can't do too nice because you'll lose everything. Anyway, he said to her, I'm sorry I can't pay you back because I loaned it to someone else.
What?
I know.
Wait.
You don't
Like,
even
what?
know.
Like,
Yeah.
like making money from that? What?
Yeah. That's like
I don't know. He took her money and I don't know if it's true. This is the principle is that she loaned this money to him without trusting him first, without knowing his track record. Listen to that thing on wise trust and smart trust because you have to exercise that. So you have to discern people really well. But I think sometimes if you have something in you that your trust radar can be broken. So it's something about you. Maybe it is something about you that it's your trust radar's broken, and maybe you have a need to please people. Maybe you have a need for them to like, oh, you are so wonderful. I love you so much. And maybe it emotionally builds you, but look what it's doing to you. It's damaging you and will damage the friendship because now she feels very resentful. She's like, I am not talking to that brother. You know, it just creates more problems for you. Yes. And how about employing family or friends or starting a business with them? I think that's all good if you've tested them out. But again, you have to be very careful here. You have to separate your roles, right? So if I employed one of my kids, maybe, I'm not their mother in the business, okay? I'm your boss.
Yeah.
When we come here, say it's a cafe, we come here, I'm your boss, you're the staff member, and you will sign an employment agreement, you will work these hours, you will be paid this much. But when we're at home, then it's different. But it's so hard for people to do that, you know, we always blur those lines because, well, it's family, well, it's a brother or a sister, you know, so remember, keep those separations. It'll do you good and them good.
So what would be the consequences? Or maybe the results? It's like sometimes the kid comes late to work. And then
Yes.
oh, it's family, never mind.
Yes.
Oh, dude, no, you do the work. You know?
Yes.
Yeah, things like that. Yeah.
That's right. And you
Keep it
just,
clear.
you lose professionalism, right? You start shouting at them, they start shouting you can walk into some business like that with family members fighting. You go, whoa, that's super unprofessional. It's like, what kind of business is this? Maybe I'll go down the road. Okay, so be discerning of who you're closely around. This is another point, a separate point. Be discerning of who you're closely around, because people, when they're close to you, you let them speak into you. You let them speak truth into your heart. And if you take it in and you're not discerning, you might actually take that truth and do something with it, but it might cause you a lot of damage or the relationship damage. So the environment shapes you. Birds of a feather flock together. So, for example, just as a made-up scenario, right? If all your friends are, say, they're debt-ridden, they're shopping mad, and they're broke, well, guess what? You hang out with them long enough and you let them speak into your life, you're also going to be shopping mad, debt-ridden, and broke. That's just a principle.
And you would think it's okay.
Yeah, you won't think any different because you're like, you normalize dysfunction. Yes, so you lose that radar to see clearly, like, whoa, this is not good, this is unhealthy. I need to separate this out. Okay. And this is the last thing. Get financially literate. Get financially literate. Like, educate yourself with what is budgeting, what is investing, how do I set up a budget, all that stuff, you know. How do I use money wisely? How do I invest? Equip yourself in money management or investment skills. So all of us can educate and upskill ourselves. Everything's on the internet, you know. There's apps. There's, I think sorted.org.nz is a really good site. It gives you all the basic money management tools and budgeting tools and lots of stuff. There's lots of free seminars online.
CAP is really good.
So?
Christians Against Poverty.
Oh, right. CAP for debt? You mean
They
debt?
have a money like
paying?
budgeting
Oh,
training.
right, yeah.
Over like 3-4 sessions.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
and they help you to get out of debt as well, right? I've heard many stories and testimonies of that. Yeah. So if you want to start off with, if you want to, I would say, get your solid base right. You know, you've got to get healthy with your money management, stewarding everything, your bills, your savings, your giving. That's a solid base, right? Otherwise, if you start wanting to invest, you're just going to apply the same principles to the investment and it could collapse, right? So you want a healthy, solid foundation to grow from, and then you start investing. So if we wanted to develop property, not now, but, you know, we would get a mentor for that as a developer. That is who has experience in that field. So you can get a mentor on board. So if you want to grow a specific skill or an investment portfolio. So you learn about good debt and bad debt. You use budgeting tools and apps. Yeah. So upskill yourself. Don't miss out that part. It's not just prayer and I feel good, so I'll do this. It's a lot of discipline and structure and the right mindset. Yeah. So that's it.
That's really cool.
Yeah. So those are some of the things on financial wisdom. Do you guys have any questions?